A cacophony of sounds filled the air in the stadium. Cheers and sneers of countless different species all blended together, as merchants selling all matter of wares straddled down the hundreds of stairways, passageways and elevators that connected its different levels. The air was clogged with excitement, as all awaited the official opening of the games. The blare of horns suddenly smothered all other sounds, and all attention was turned to the lower levels of the stadium, reserved exclusively for the high-ranking nobility. In a raised tent at the lowest level sat Lemnos, the first of his name, by the grace of the Nine, High King of the Nonopods, and by the will of the Council Galactic Emperor. The ancient Nonopod, dressed in a robe of void black silk and with 9 gem-encrusted circlets of varying metals placed around his bulbous head, slithered on 5 legs up to a ramp to a raised platform in his pavilion, and raised 4 tentacles, silencing the last sliver of noise. As enormous projectors placed around the stadium lit up with a close-up view of him, his mouth slit open to form words, and an auto-translator immediately relayed his speech in regal galactic common. "My honourable lords and ladies, my brave soldiers, my freemen, my burghers, my yeomen, and all my loyal subjects, we gather here today in celebration, and to revel in victory." Cheering erupted once again, before again being silenced by a gesture from the Emperor. "After years of conflict, the unruly rebellion of the Catharex Ascendancy has been put to a final end. It is in celebration of this that I have called this tourney, and to honour all of you who have sacrificed to assure the stability and safety of our shared realm. And now, before we introduce our brave champions, it is my greatest honour to reveal the grand prize of this tournament." As he finished, he clapped his tentacles together. The sound reverberated artificially around the stadium for dramatic effect. A covered litter was carried onto the non-agonal field in the middle of the stadium by a small army of servants of varying species. When it reached the middle, its curtain was dramatically drawn back to reveal a sight that drew stunned gasps from all around. Inside, seated on a silver throne, sat a young Cathari woman. She bore the characteristic light blue skin and tapered ears of her people. The cybernetic implants her people were famed for revealed itself in the form of polished silver prosthetics, where her arms and legs should be, their long and slender forms complementing her lithe body. Though her face was beautiful, it was plain for all to see she was not in a good mood. "It has been decided that whoever prevails in this tourney shall take Princess Cenarius' hand in marriage, and shall by my will be installed as the steward of Caithar Prime," the Emperor added. The curtain of the litter was shut, and the princess was returned to the sidelines. "Now, friends, it is time we welcome our contestants," the Emperor finished, before plopping down on his throne, a strictly geometrical monolith of black rock, seemingly exhausted by his speech. The crowd erupted into cheers once more, as gates on all sides of the field slid up, and a procession of mounted warriors entered the field. They were dressed in the fineries of the myriads of peoples who inhabited the galactic realm, seas of bright colours, enormous feathery or filament plumes, brightly coloured and embroidered cloth, and metals polished to perfection filled the arena floors. The cheers intensified as every spectator in the crowd screamed for their favourite, or the representative of their realm or people. The warriors rode laps around the field, waving and bowing to the masses, soaking in every second of glory and fame. One by one, they rode to the sidelines to await their turn. A herald, dressed in the personal livery of Emperor Lemnos, a void hawk of gold on a field of purpure, and an enormous plumed hat, entered on a floating platform. Many noticed he was also Cathari, though whether he had remained a loyalist or had been taken from the rebellious ascendancy by force, no one knew. He addressed the crowd in a voice far too loud for a being his size, indicating his lungs and vocal cords had been cybernetically enhanced. "The time has come for our champions to prove their valour. The calling of the names shall now commence. When a contestant's name is heard, they must proceed to the tilt." As he spoke, a long tilting line rose from the ground in the field, giving the contestants a place to spar. "Now, Melor of Lamonia and Lefeno of Kauran, come forth and prove your worth." 2 of the contestants in the enormous mass of warriors proceeded to each end of the line. Melor was of a short and stout avian species. His helm was long and narrow to accommodate his beak, and decorated with an enormous plume of feathers from his homeworld. Lefeno was of an amphibious species. He had a long and gangly body with a remarkably flat face, covered by a faceplate. His armour was a purplish-black in hue, and he wore a cape woven from aquatic vegetation. They both rode cybernetic mounts, built to resemble creatures from their homeworlds. Malaire's was quadruped, with feathery legs and claws, and a long curved beak on his face, while Lefeno's was bipedal with webbed feet, stubby arms, a large hump on his back, and had a broad bill on his snout. Only scattered cheers arose for the first contestants. It was common practice to have the lower ranked nobility and commoner men-at-arms to tilt before the more famous and higher ranked ones. Nevertheless, both contestants took their place, received their electro-lances from waiting assistants, and activated their plasma shields in their other hands, which lit up in a pale blue light. They both raised their weapons in salute towards the Emperor, before a trumpet blared and they spurred their mounts. The tilt lasted 3 rounds before Lefeno, in a skilled blow, struck Miller hard and precise enough to launch him from his saddle, sending him crashing to the ground in a whirl of feathers. Despite their low rank, the crowd still went wild for the end of the first round. Lefeno rode a victory lap around the arena, while Malaire angrily shoved his helping squire away, tore off his helmet and kicked it across the grounds. The next rounds passed in similar fashion. The herald would announce new contestants, who would do battle, gradually shrinking the pool of contestants down. The names began blending together until one particular title caught the crowd's attention. Mandu of Quenonix and the Red Knight of Mars, come forth and prove your worth. A mystery knight? They were not unheard of, but in such a grand spectacle, who would not want their name attached to it? Mandu the Queon was not hard to recognize. His centaur-like body meant he rode no beast, but rather ran on 4 legs and fought with his 2 arms, and his bulk and large horned helmet meant he stuck out from the crowd as well. His mysterious opponent, on the other hand, seemed as plain as a creature could get in comparison. It was bipedal, with a body plan similar to that of a Cathari, only a bit shorter and stockier. Their armour was a deep rust red in colour, a nardless thing without decoration. On their shield they bore an insignia of a white circle encrossed with a silver spear. Their cloak was also red and bore an identical mark. Many murmured in the audience, but none could quite place the species of this new contestant. Their mount provided no other clue either. It was a hoofed quadruped with a long snout and a bushy mane and tail. The contestants lined up at the end of the tilt, received their weapons and saluted. The mystery knight was dwarfed by his opponent. Many in the audience held their breath. Many more bet large sums on Mandu's victory. The trumpets gave their signal, and the combatants set off. They lowered their lances and prepared to meet. The tension in the stadium was palpable. They met, and 2 lances were broken in shields, sending cracks and sparks flying. But while the Red Knight rode back at his mount before pulling himself back into the saddle, Mandu of Queonix was sent rolling on the stadium floor. Shocked gasps emerged from the audience, as well as screams and rage of money lost. The Red Knight rode no victory lap, and instead rode back to the sidelines, where many of the other contestants looked at him with shocked expressions. From the ground, Mandu of Queonix raised a broken lance in salute to his opponent, and the Red Knight returned the favour. The next round passed in haze. The Mystery Knight unmounted opponent after opponent, until at last only a handful of lower-ranked combatants remained. At this, the gate opened to unveil more combatants, these of higher station and birth. One particularly smug-looking rider emerged first from the rest, a nonapod like the Emperor. It is time for Prince Legends, youngest of His Imperial Majesty's brood, to choose his first opponent, the herald announced, clarifying his identity. The prince, astride a mechanical creature that resembled a manta ray with crab-like legs, rode several times around the group of possible combatants, before finally settling in on one specific opponent, and lightly nudged their shield with his lance. Prince Legends has chosen the Red Knight of Mars, the herald announced.